As the president of the AFT, what are your job responsibilities?
Well, as president, I'm the leader of the union that represents the professionals, the paraprofessionals, and support staff for the education personnel. The professional unit, the teachers, the nurses, the guidance counselors, the registrars, most of the degree required members of our union.
So right now, with the governor giving the pay increases, the $10,000 to attract new teachers, there seems to be like a bacchanal or a upset within the current teachers. Can you give us a nutshell of what's really taking place?
Well, right now we are working on the 2011 salary scale because the last contract for 2015-16 didn't address monies because Governor DeYoung said he had no money at the time. So basically, this contract negotiation was dealing with salary increases. The governor, in his executive order, has mandated that minimum salary be $44,000 for professionals. And that means that currently the $34,000 salary scale is going to move up to $44,000, which is a $10,000 increase for new members. And the executive order also says that anybody making under 44 will move to 44. He didn't account for the veteran teachers who make more than 44. That, he said, will be dealt with in negotiations. So in June, we entered into negotiations to come up with a new salary scale. The problem is, he has already, through his executive order, he has instituted a $10,000 increase in the former salary scale for the new employees, but the veteran employees, he doesn't have that amount of money. So the latest one offered $4,000 to $6,000 for anyone who's been in the system 10 to 20 to 30 years, which is vastly unfair to start with. But also, in this contract negotiation, the salaries don't take into account your years of experience. And that's what we're basically contesting right now. Our salary scale goes by steps that should equate to your years of service. Presently, most of our members are 9 to 10 years behind. The salary scale is 9 to 10 years behind their years of experience. So we're asking, and part of our negotiation was to move us closer to our years of service. And then with that, you will then get a salary increase based on your years of service. And then they could have adjusted the $44,000 if that is his desire.
Okay, so in the press conference earlier in the week, the governor said he asked his chief negotiator to make himself or her available by Friday so he could wrap up this negotiation. He also mentioned that he met with the AFT earlier when he originally got in office, and he asked what was your 4 conditions. Myself, who don't follow the news regularly, I was wondering what were the other 3, because he said this is the last item on his list to address with the teachers.
I think in 2015, when he was elected, he met with the union leaders. That was our former president, Mr. Lewis, and President Soto Thomas in St. Croix. And they mentioned the fact that beginning salary is extremely low for someone coming out of college. So that's one he said he did take care of. Also the 8% that was removed, and we went to court. He instituted and he sent a legislation down to the Senate for them to return the money. And then also he was working on, I think, trying to secure funding for the salary increases for veteran teachers. And the 4th one had to do with, I don't want to misspeak, but I think it had to do with the working conditions. So he did 3 out of the 4. The only thing left now is to work on the salary increases for the veteran teachers. And with that, we just say it has to be equitable. And in the salary increase, not just the cash, but given credit for their years of service. And I use the analogy, even a convict gets credit for time served. Why is it that educators are not getting credit for the years of service they've already put in?
So what is the union proposing? Because if you say you shut down $4,000 to $6,000 and it didn't give credit to time served, what are you all proposing?
Part of our proposal, our first proposal was getting us closer to years of service. Moving us along what we call our steps, moving our steps closer to years of service. We know the government cannot afford to move every member to their exact years of service, but if you can move us closer during these negotiations, upcoming negotiations will then get us 2 years of service. So we're not unreasonable, because we know just to get professionals only to the right step will cost the government over $10 million. We're not unreasonable. We know they don't have $10 million sitting down to move professionals plus the $6 million that would take for the paraprofessionals and support staff. But if you can move us closer to years of service, that would show good faith for the veteran teachers. Because the new teachers coming out of universities, they get the pedagogy in their college courses, but no master teacher comes out of the university. You master your skills through experience. So the veteran teachers are the master teachers. They're the ones that the new teachers rely on to assist for classroom management, for curriculum instruction, design, and implementation. New teachers cannot, on their own, work in the system, especially one such as ours. So they rely on the veteran teachers. So to disrespect the veteran teachers by not offering them adequate compensation, you're going to create an environment where there's not going to be that support needed.
My wild question as an average person on the street would think, how do we end up in this type of position when we say teachers are the cornerstone or the foundation blocks of our society? How is it being that you get to a position where there's such a big gap and then now you're fighting for your rights, so to speak?
And this is where it comes in. This did not begin with the MAP administration. It didn't even begin with the DeYoung administration. This was several years ago where the salary increase and the step increase were tied together, whereas every negotiation you started to negotiate the step increase along with salary increase, which should not be done. Step increase should be automatic. Every year you should move a step because you've completed a year of service. Some contracts basically spell it out. You move a step on your anniversary date. Some unions, based on the turn of the fiscal year, you move a step. For our union in the past, it was, I don't know how it started, but salary and step increases were negotiated. So when the contract ended, salary movement stopped, step movement stopped. So you didn't get another movement until the next negotiation took place, which then kept you on the same step for 5, 6, and in this case, 7 years. So hence the reason why everybody is behind so many years.
So we talked on teachers. Does that include everyone, custodian, paraprofessionals? Do you represent everyone?
Well, like we said before, AFT represents the professional unit, paraprofessional support staff. Paraprofessionals are better known as the teacher's aides. Those are ones in the back who work with the teacher.
And are they under the same negotiations that's taking place?
Same contract, yes, but they, just like the support staff, are under the mandate with the minimum wage, where the minimum wage has been raised. So it's $27,040. So everybody across the board, across the territory, has to raise to minimum wage.
So you're saying the paraprofessionals enter the system on a minimum wage?
Basically, because a few years ago it went from $18,000 to $20,000, and with this.
But do they require a degree?
That's a problem with paraprofessionals being on the same scale. For a paraprofessional, there's a required educational component. Paraprofessionals must have an associate's degree or a certain amount of credits at a university in order to be employed. It's vastly unfair because most of them have student loans. They have that educational base that they have to pay for. And it's required. It's not something that's optional for them. To be employed as a paraprofessional, you must have this education.
What is being proposed on behalf of the paraprofessionals?
A higher salary scale, a different salary scale from the support staff. Support staff includes our secretaries, our accountants, the financial analysts, anybody who basically school-related personnel.
So Friday is the big day to see where it goes. Now, if Friday fails, that means no teachers go to school, or what happens?
Well, within our contract, we have what's called a no-strike clause. It does not mean that we can't strike. It means that we have to give notice to the government of our intent. So if this contract negotiation does fail, and the only way it can fail is if one of the parties, whether the government side, which we call management, or the union side, decides no more. Then that's the only way you can consider it failed. So until then, we just keep going back, proposal, counter proposal, counter, and keep going until you come up with a final figure.
So if that be the case and it's going back and forth, then under the new negotiation, whatever you agree to, then do you backdate the start of the new pay increase?
Well, basically, this salary, the new salary, goes into effect the first day of school, which is September 1st. Our contract begins September 1st. The governor had desired all contracts and negotiations be completed by the fiscal year, which is October 1st. That was a date he promoted earlier in the summer. So that's one of the reasons he wanted to make sure he got this done so that it can fall in line with the new budget. But for us, anything that is agreed upon is retroactive to September 1st because that's the start of our school year.
Well, that's a lot. It's a big negotiation, obviously, and we know there's many more topics that you're not only looking at, but addressing, including school conditions and quality of classrooms, all kind of stuff, correct?
But the language portion of the contract was already done. They had signed off on that in 2016 under former President Lewis. They signed off on the language portion. So this negotiation that I was a part of was strictly dealing with the money, because with the last DeYoung negotiations, they said they can only do language under Ms. Delagarde because they had no more money. So they said the next negotiation, they would deal with the money. And then that came this year, or started last year.
The negotiation itself, with the reopening of schools, you're dealing with conditions of the classroom.
Of course, because our contract dictates and mandates that teachers work in a safe, sanitary environment. So we are vigilant on staying on top of classroom repairs, mold issues, mitigation of any asbestos, mold, or any hazards in the classroom. So we're on that every day, asking the members to make sure that the classrooms and the offices, because everyone is not in the classroom, to make sure that they stay on any challenge that's in their space.
A genuine thank you to you and your entire members, all the teachers, everyone that makes the education process possible. And we'll be covering to see what happens in the negotiation, and then of course during the opening of school and the school year, how everything is flowing.
Well, we thank you for this opportunity because many in our community need to hear our side as well. So we do appreciate this.